See, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out. And also, if you stay down here and you never fuck around, you'll never find out.
Alcohol, right.
Now going back to Karl-Anthony Towns, and for the Knicks this season, there is elements of his game that we are going to need him to mirror Isaiah Hartenstein when it comes to the way he reacts out of the short roll, being able to finish on his own, showing off some of that athleticism he has going downhill, just like Hartenstein did at times when Jalen Brunson would give him the ball, when he would thread the needle when defenders would hedge, and Hartenstein would have the ability to finish at the hoop. He's going to make defenders pay if they step too close to him. He could easily blow by you, or if you give him too much room, he will step up and take that three, or he could hit the mid-range. But ironically, on the defensive side, he does not share the same lateral movement as Isaiah Hartenstein when it comes to defending. He's more of a drop back coverage big who at times, when you leave him one-on-one with a dynamic backcourt player or just a dynamic wing, this guy kind of operates on spaghetti legs. Very similar to Carmelo Anthony. He had that powerful first step, especially in his prime years. But defending, going side to side, he always looked lost. And Karl-Anthony Towns, as I alluded earlier before, he is the first player that the Knicks have gotten in the last 2 to 3 years that does not necessarily fit the characteristics of a Thibs type player. Karl-Anthony Towns right here, I don't know if he thinks James Harden is Ben Simmons, but it's your job, man. Step up. And then the lack of agility right here. It just looks kind of clunky. And check out the recovery. It's like he's doing old man cone drills. It just looks very clunky. Now, on this goal screen by Kawhi, right here, you're going to see Towns. You ever been to the car dealership and you see like the inflatable tube, man, where the wind is blowing and that thing is flailing everywhere? That's how Towns look like right here. What the fuck? He's just everywhere, but nowhere at the same time. Now, Tatum right here has Towns where he wants him, out in the open. Look at that. The game is tied, 120 apiece, a minute left in the game. And just pay attention to Karl-Anthony Towns' hips, the way he just moves from side to side. Tatum just completely shakes him. Again, as we see right here, Towns has the athleticism to blow by guys that guard him too close and finish in the lane. Very athletic for his size when it comes to him going straight downhill. But on the defensive side, it's a completely different story. But on the defensive end, I don't know why, but it's just a different story. And in the 6 seasons he's had with the Minnesota Timberwolves, they finished for the most part every season a bottom defense. That includes the years that Thibs was there, also the years that Jimmy Butler was there. But right here, I'm not going to lie, Cat jumps like he has a bad hip. Got that old man jump. With Cat, I don't know if it's the technique or just the lack of details. Look at Bam on this catch. And look at Cat's body position. He never seems to have great positioning off rip. The Celtics right here, they drag Cat into this action right here, knowing that he's just going to drop back. And this is too easy for Tatum to just pull up and shoot this three. But normally what good teams do is that when Tatum was about to hit this pick and roll before that, they switch. Towns would have switched, and then they would have switched again. So Towns could be on the furthest offensive player that's away from the play. But good teams like the Celtics, what they do is that when they see you making those switches, like while Towns is in between making the switch from this player to this player, the Celtics would drag this player back into the action. So they did that during the finals with Kyrie Irving and Luka. But right here, this is just way too easy. You would think Towns is stiff, but just looking at this play right here, look how he blows by everyone and draws the foul. It's all in the effort. This is going to be real interesting to see how Thibodeau is going to handle this. But again, going to the defensive side of the ball, here's a real interesting play right here. SGA one-on-one, down low with Rudy Gobert. Look who Towns is guarding. Lou Dort, who's not really a three-point shooter. So Towns should have stunted in right here, helped out. Lou Dort is not going to make it rain from out there like that. Look at Towns. It's again, lack of effort. Now, teams that have a lot of switchable players like OKC, as we could see, Jalen Williams is on the ball. Naz Reid is completely caught on the screen. So why is Towns still going under? You should try to hedge right now. But Towns goes under also and does like a cartoon type. I don't know what the fuck that is. That's not even a block, but he just looked like a cartoon character. Let's look at that again. What was Towns doing? Going back to the details, it's all about the positioning. Look at Towns. Look how he positions himself. Just get in front of SGA. Doesn't position himself correctly. SGA just takes it to the cup and draws the foul. Just look at the difference. When Curry rejects his screen, look at Hartenstein. He contested. It's all in the details. Check out Hartenstein right here. As he's going to recover because Randall's going to get blown by. But he backs him up. See, eyes on the ball, eyes also on his man. It's a lot of the little things, you know, Towns is really going to help us out with. Look at Curry right here as he rejects his screen. But check out Hartenstein. Hartenstein does a good job staying in front of Curry while McBride tries to recover. See? Now Hartenstein recovers. Back to Draymond. Let's look at that one more time. See, he stays in front of him. Watch, he's going to point. See, you see how he blocks the lane? CP3 can't quite thread the needle fast enough. Hartenstein is real alert. He has his eyes on the ball and on his man. Like, he understands the assignment. That's all about details. Check out Hartenstein. It's all about the details. Look at his recovery. Look at his positioning in the recovery. Check gets called for the turnover. Again, let's look at that one more time. Look at Hartenstein. He always has an eye on the ball and his man. Towns, for some reason, he's always caught in between this guy getting a floater or this guy somehow passing to someone else and getting off an alley dunk. Once again, right here, it's all about the details. Look at Hart. He's paying attention. He helps contest that. It's little things like this we're going to look out for Towns and what he does. But funny thing right here, I've noticed with KP, he does not really ever set a full screen. He really does not like contact at all. It's hard to believe at a point in his career he was viewed as a guy that can actually have a team build pieces around him. He cannot hold down a team for no 82 games in a season. But going back to this, looking at the defense, these are things we're going to judge Karl-Anthony Towns on. Look at Hartenstein. Kind of plays the drop back coverage a little bit. On the corner of his eye, he's looking at KP. And just look at his recovery. At least apply a little ball pressure. But when it comes to Towns, there's definitely lack of effort. Look at right here. Slothman gets involved in a pick and roll. And look at Towns right here. Towns is actually in a drop back coverage. Good positioning. Kind of want to get in between these two defenders a little bit, back up. But he basically pulls out real early right now. And it's going to leave an open lane. I believe this is Miles Bridges to attack. Look at Towns. What the fuck is he doing? And look at Slothman just yelling at him. Like, Slothman is sick. What can you say to one of the franchise guys when he's putting out effort like that? But Towns in this very game scored 62 points and was benched for crucial parts of this game. Unreal. Here's another play with Towns sleeping at the wheel. PJ pulls up. Barely a contest from Towns and splash. Now this season, we're going to see if Thibs has the reins to bench Towns for plays like this, where he's just watching like a spectator on the bench. Not even a contest. Towns got to be on it early. Look at PJ. He's making his way to the three-point line. Towns at some point is going to clearly see that. See right here. Towns is too late to react. He should have been reacting already. Let's look at it. Very nonchalant. Very, very nonchalant. Now, the addition of Rudy Gobert a few seasons ago may have actually provided a cushion for Towns even more, for him not to necessarily worry about defense as much, because low-key, Towns really hasn't played the center position in 2 seasons. So he's going into this season with high expectations for the Knicks to be the starting center when he's been alleviated of those physical duties for 2 years. So things are definitely going to get interesting down at MSG. Now, staying on the exact game where Karl-Anthony Towns dropped 62 points and got benched. And right here, I really can't quite tell if Towns actually stepped away from his drop back coverage too early, but it's real close. It's real close. Like, he bails on it already. Look at the defender. As soon as he bails, he reacts. You know, with Karl-Anthony Towns, what really separates him from getting up to that next level and being recognized as one of the top tier players in the league is his defense. And historically, if you look at some of the best centers to ever come into the league, they actually help their teams on both ends of the floor while maintaining that same offensive output that Karl-Anthony Towns had throughout his whole career. Now right here, this is game 2 of the NBA Finals. The Knicks are only up 1. And Patrick Ewing continuously made major stops on an all-time great center in Hakeem Olajuwon. This is what really separates Karl-Anthony Towns from just being that occasional all-star, a person that's on the fringe of making the 3rd All-NBA team, and him just getting up to that next level. Look at Ewing right here. He practically galvanized the Knicks defense into a game 2 victory. I mean, look at Ewing right here battling with Hakeem down low. This is back-to-back plays where he calls an all-time great to turn the ball over. This is the difference between Karl-Anthony Towns going up to that next level. I don't know if this season Thibs can get his foot up his ass, man, to have him more detail-oriented. Because even the great players like Ewing went through a similar phase, not necessarily in the aspect of not taking pride in their defense, but trying to get up to the next level. And for Ewing, if you look back historically, I believe it started in the 92-93 season where he took more of an onus. You've seen him barking at guys, taking full responsibility of the outcomes of the games. Everything fell on him. And no offense to Towns coming from Minnesota, it's just been so lackadaisical. And even through all that nonchalant bullshit that they were on, him and Andrew Wiggins still scored a max deal with no fucking contest from the front office. So that's the culture he's coming from down there in Minnesota. And they just started having expectations, I would say, in the last 2 years. But just staying on the Knicks, we're going to really see Thibodeau, how much pull does he have on the Knicks this season? I know he just got extended for 3 years, but there is no doubt that Cat is the first player on this team that doesn't necessarily have the characteristics that Thibs is looking for. And just a little bonus, we're going to take a look at some of the learning lesson Thibodeau had when he was out there in Minnesota with Cat, going up against the Houston Rockets in the 2018 playoffs. And the reason why this is real important here is because the Rockets, in a way, were kind of, I don't want to say ahead of their time, but the way their team was constructed, being a 3-point shooting team with a good backcourt of CP3 and James Harden under the Mike D'Antoni system, they played a style of basketball that a lot of teams play today, which is that 5-out offense, a lot of 3-point shooting. And Thibodeau throughout that series had a lot of difficulty on where to place Cat to guard that pick and roll with James Harden and CP3 and others. And they completely torched the Minnesota Timberwolves. All right, so just to add some context into this series, the Timberwolves gave up 110 points per game. And also, this is Karl-Anthony Towns' 3rd year in the NBA. And this series is overall a reflection of Thibs and some of the lack of adjustments he made, especially with Karl-Anthony Towns in these pick and roll situations. As James Harden rejects the screen, but Towns never really fully commits to Harden or even preventing this pass, this alley-oop pass to Capella. He seemed to be in that gray area throughout the whole series. And even throughout this series, Cat in these pick and roll situations Doesn't really take away any angles for passes or even to step up and contest James Harden. As right here, we're going to see him. Look where Cat is at. This is a clear angle right here. No communication either, whether to switch or not. Doesn't really take away anything. Leaves him open for easy too. Again, Towns with poor positioning. Normally right here, just step up to Harden. You can't give him any breathing room. Because once any defender goes under, this is prime James Harden. He's going to pull up and take that shot. Look at Cat. His eyes is never on his man and the ball at the same time. Here's Towns again. We're going to look at his positioning. He's guarding PJ Tucker right here. Not really a high percentage three-point shooter, but he doesn't help out Harden at all. He's just standing there watching. Cat, once again, his eyes is never on his man and the ball at the same fucking time. Now right here, the Rockets running multiple actions. Harden pops out. Paul eventually becomes the screener. And at the same time, Capella is going to do a dribble handoff. Look at CP3. He screens for Harden. Multiple actions running at the same time. Capella is rolling really wide. But once again, Towns, he's never in a position to either step up and deflect this pass. Use his wingspan to make it tough for James Harden to get this alley pass off. Let's take a look at it one more time. Check out Harden and CP3. One action here. Goes into another one. Towns even contest that. Now right here, check out Towns' positioning. He's right next to Capella. Capella is not a jump shooter. But James Harden with the blow by. Look at Cat. Slow to react. Where's the effort, Cat? And look at Taj Gibson. He's very frustrated. Should have got some help. So now that we've seen Cat's organic positioning in previous plays, now we're going to take a look at the real way Thibs had him defend on the floor with this drop back coverage. And with the Houston Rockets just having dynamic guards in James Harden and CP3. Once players go under the screen, especially with Cat all the way back like this, it's easy goings for players like this. And this is where Thibs possibly should have made some adjustments right here. Towns with the step back, just giving Harden just way too much room. He's going to cook from out here. Easy step back. Again, right here, another Capella Harden pick and roll. Look at the spacing Harden has. Look at Jimmy. He's still trying to recover to Harden. And now Harden's going to charge at the rim. And just look at the overall poor contest by Towns. Now with CP3 here, we're going to see Towns drop back coverage. And normally this is where teams would make adjustments like the Golden State Warriors, where they will have this defender switch here, and then Towns would switch here. But look at Towns as he's backpedaling. He's one-on-one with CP3 on the island right here. It's like, why is he still backing up? Easy money. This is where communication adjustments have to be made. Derrick Rose is clearly caught. Thibs should have had Jimmy step in, Towns stay with Capella, and Rose, right on this turn right here, jump to Harden. But easy shot, like not even a contest from Towns. Towns at certain portions of this series was so far back that it was virtually impossible for his teammates to recover. Look how much time CP3 has. He's nearly tap dancing in the paint. Towns right here is so far back. We're going to see CP3 just have ample time that he loses the ball. Still has time to recover and get something off. Look at this right here. Man, we're going to see if Thibs has power this season to bench Cat for any lackluster bullshit like this. Cat's right here and drop back. Look at CP3. His man is caught. Jimmy Butler is caught right here on the screen. So it will be up to Cat to step up or communicate to Wiggins to step up. But this doesn't make any sense right here. In a way, we're seeing why the Timberwolves went out and got Rudy Gobert. Now in training camp, we're hearing that the Knicks potentially might go to a switching defense, which would make sense in a play like this. As you can see, multiple actions are happening here. Jimmy should stay with CP3. Wiggins should step up to Harden. And Cat should stick to Capella, with him being the slowest guy on the floor, while Jeff Teague makes his run to cover PJ. So it should be Jimmy staying with CP3, Cat staying with Capella, switch, switch, switch. But that takes a lot of communication, but this is potentially something that we could see the Knicks make adjustments with having Towns on the floor this season. Communication's got to be A1. There's already a few teams that play like this to hide certain defenders. The Dallas Mavericks, the Golden State Warriors, just a few teams I can name off the top of my head. Now, a vulnerability that Cat has in this drop back coverage, especially around the free throw line, seems like that's what Thibs had him doing all series long, is he's vulnerable to these rescreens. As we're going to see Capella kind of throw these rescreens at Jimmy Butler, and look at Harden. He just has all day. Again, check out Towns during these rescreens. He's just standing there. And this series is a perfect example of why things like this kind of fell on Thibs and Karl-Anthony Towns, but especially Thibs. No adjustments, no switches. The communication was poor. So the pivot, fast forwarding to 2024, is going to be real. And it's going to be very, very interesting. The Knicks have OG and Mikal Bridges, guys who could defend multiple positions. So things are going to get quite interesting. But this Minnesota Timberwolves team also had players who could defend multiple positions, Andrew Wiggins and Jimmy Butler. But maybe things internally couldn't get this team on point. The Tom Thibodeau era in the T-Wolves kind of signified for him the changing of the guard among head coaches, the way they could interact with the new generation of players that I want to say are a bit more sensitive at times, but the relationship between head coach and player, it's more of a partnership. As to the eras prior of Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, etc., the head coach was really the commander in chief. But Thibs' fallout with Andrew Wiggins and Karl-Anthony Towns probably served as a learning lesson, and he's probably found new ways of motivating this era of players, not necessarily through the old tactics from before. But right here, Towns once again, drop back coverage, way too far on James Harden. He sees his man is caught. Butler's completely caught on this, but look at the amount of space Harden gets. He can knock down jumpers from here. And Harden just stays patient with it. Now, Towns, once again, his eyes got to be here and here. And just his positioning is off. Just makes it too easy for PJ. Once again, I'm using this series because the Houston Rockets of 2018, this team reflects a lot of the teams today, with a dynamic backcourt with CP3 and Harden. You also got shooters. Look at Eric Gordon right here. And this is going to be a pick and roll between Harden and Gordon right here, right on Wiggins. And once again, Towns drop back coverage on 2 3-point shooters. Harden could easily pop out. That's if Wiggins follows, because Cat is just, the defense is just obvious. He's going to be back there. See, too far back to defend this 3-point shooter. This is an easy shot. This type of coverage is horrible going against these 5-out, spaced out teams. And at the time in 2018, the Rockets and Warriors were one of the more proficient teams at this. But fast forward to the NBA today, more teams are just as efficient in this type of play style. Just seeing the way Cat operated defensively with Thibs as a coach in this type of structure is very, very interesting. Cat in drop back coverage, he seems to never be in position to contest a shot or even an alley pass if possible. So switching is going to be real important. The coverage right here, you could tell for Towns is natural. Jimmy gets caught in staggered screens, one from CP3, the next one from Capella. Meanwhile, Cat just organically backs up. See, Jimmy gets caught in that second screen. Look at Cat still backing up. Harden just having all day. It just gets nastier from here. Wow, look at Towns, man. I can't believe this is fucking defense. And you look at the league now, it's like hierarchy conundrums. What is Thibs supposed to say to the franchise star at this very moment? This is before Anthony Edwards came to the team. But when you look at Towns, look at right here. He doesn't even contest CP3. And it's things like this that hurt Carmelo's career. Him being allowed in Denver to kind of get away with certain things, even though he had his 2 first head coaches both call him out on it. It was definitely around the time where the league was transitioning, giving the younger players a lot of power within the franchises, and the coaches were kind of dialed back a little bit. In the later part of his career, we've seen his lack of defensive awareness. It came back to haunt him. But Karl-Anthony Towns, almost a decade in, this is going to be very interesting to see how Thibs gets him to buy in to what the Knicks are doing. You know, it's a good thing in a way that Karl-Anthony Towns has entered into the Knicks ecosystem, not having the same star power leverage that Melo had on the Knicks when he first came in. So Towns' bad habits could be called out. That's really the only difference I could see between him and Melo's situations on the Knicks. But right here, as you see, Towns in drop back coverage, Capella's just going to rescreen. And it's easy money. Look at that. How many times is going to rescreen? Here's a few more examples of CP3 just having all day. No contest from Towns. This right here is a T-Wolves facing elimination. Pick on T. Look at the coverage, the drop back coverage. Look at Towns right here. What is that? Elimination game. Playing like that in an elimination game is wild. Jamal Crawford completely gets caught right here. Look at Towns. He just stays back by the free throw line. Yeah, a lot of this is really inexcusable. Right here, pick and roll. Look where Cat is at. Sheesh. There's no excuse for this. At this point, you got to ask yourself, is Cat pretending to play defense? Look at him. Look at him. Is he pretending? But it is what it is. For a lot of the offensive versatility Cat brings, defensively, the Knicks, they kind of do have enough to hide him with Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, but a lot of the cultural habits he picked up in the last, I would say, 9 years in Minnesota, and the fact that they brought in Rudy Gobert to have him avoid playing the center position, there's definitely going to be major retooling from Tom Thibodeau. And Cat already knows the tri-state area is not going to accept that type of defensive effort. They're going to be on your ass, Cat. But we'll see. Throughout the season, I'll be touching base on various concepts relating to some of the characteristics the Knicks will develop going into this season with this new redefined roster. So, until next time, you fellas, stay safe. Peace.